Buckle up, because the Rams are about to electrify the NFL. All Los Angeles Rams games can be heard right here on KSHP, AM 1400 and 107.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome. It is Pushing the Limits. We got a jam-packed show lined up for you today. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, my good friend, popular podcaster, Wajahat Ali is going to be joining us, talk about the Venezuela overtake, for lack of a better term. Liberal influencer Kyla Turner going to be joining us in hour number 2. And, of course, this is the anniversary of January 6th, so I'm certainly going to be giving you my commentary on this. I'm very proud of my friend Pam Hemphill, by the way. We're going to get her back on the show this week. She testified in front of Congress today, or some members of Congress, and I thought she was very heroic with the words that she used and her apologies, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But, you know, it's interesting. I was watching CNN last night, and I'm watching my friend Joe Walsh and Ferguson go at it on CNN, and there's a video that sort of went viral. I thought it was kind of funny. Coates involved in this. Just watch this for a moment, and then we'll talk about it.
I think that will resonate with voters.
Well, see, Ben, Joe, thank you both. We're not done talking about that. What do you want to say, Ben? Go ahead.
No, I'll say this about President Trump.
Can I follow you on Twitter and I can read it there instead? Let's do that. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Joe.
It's about
Just shutting down Ben Ferguson. The guy that was on that panel, of course, my friend Joe Walsh joining me right now. Joe, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Brian, that was hilarious because I think Laura Coates said to him, "Can I just follow you on Twitter," or something like that.
What was that all about? Was she just fed up with him? She's a firecracker.
She's wonderful. She was a little fed up. And Brian, you know, Ben Ferguson, so many of these guys on the right, they just rattle off talking points. And they don't stop. And I think she was tired of that last night.
How do you deal with that? How do you deal with a guy like Ben Ferguson spewing the right-wing talking points? I mean, how do you deal with that?
Well, you and I have talked about this because I'll go on Pierce Morgan's show or some of these other shows. I'll go on Abby Phillips' show. And Brian, I'm older than you. You're still a young man. I don't want to fight anymore, like with these people. I don't want to sit on a TV set and just get in and create viral moments. So generally what I try to do with a guy like Ferguson is I'm just going to sit back and be polite. I'll respond to what he says, but I'll be the good boy. I don't want to fight anymore.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way these days a little bit. But I would ask you this on a day, January 6th, obviously the anniversary of that horrible day that we both have talked about ad nauseum. What comes to your mind today? Anything different than any other anniversary of January 6th? What do you remember about that day, and what comes to mind today as you wake up today on the anniversary, Joe?
Brian, I just always think about what happened after January 6th. I think about this. Trump should be in jail. Donald Trump is a traitor to this country. He's an enemy of democracy. We know that. January 6th happened because of him. He should be in jail. He should be a pariah. He should be in Siberia. but yet this country put him back in power. And so I think about how lost we are that 5 years later, the guy who lit the match to create January 6th is back in power. That is such a condemnation of us.
How does it make you feel, Joe, that at least several hundred people that were pardoned by Donald Trump for their actions on January 6th are marching in Washington, D.C. today? As someone, as a former congressman, as you are, you obviously care. You talk about our democracy all the time. I'm with you. How does it make you feel to know some of those people who beat cops and every single one of those people who broke the law and were convicted in a court of law were not only pardoned, but are now out there in Washington, D.C. on January 6th?
You know what, Brian? It's and I'm no different than you. So I served in Congress for a little bit of time. But January 6th was so personal to me because it was such an honor to serve. And that was like my office, that Capitol. And I cried all day watching these people attack my Capitol. But those people out there marching today, don't take this wrong. I almost don't blame, because again, the guy in the White House has pardoned everybody. My former political party has turned January 6th into a patriotic day. So these knuckleheads just reflect what Trump and his cheerleaders have been saying ever since.
Agree. Just joining us, former presidential candidate Joe Walsh joining us right now on the show. Joe, talk a little bit about Venezuela with you. What does it say about Donald Trump and his cronies that they actually briefed the oil companies before they said anything to Congress about what was going to transpire in Venezuela? What do you make of that?
And by the way, Brian, there's a thread here. And again, don't take me wrong when I say this. I almost don't blame Trump. Trump believes he's above the law. Trump believes he can do whatever he wants. Trump believes he's accountable to no one. I really don't blame Trump for that. So like Trump believes he can invade a sovereign country and kidnap that country's leader. Trump's followers have trained him to believe he's above the law. Trump's media cheerleaders, they've never held him accountable for anything. It's almost not Trump's fault that he believes he's above the law. So he did what he did last weekend, which is illegal, unconstitutional, and immoral. And oh, by the way, again, to your point, authoritarian and almost oligarchy. You know what I'm trying to say. He briefs oil execs, but not Congress. He gives a middle finger to the Constitution, but briefs his big money guys.
Mm-hmm. So, Joe, do you agree with me that the reason why he did this, I would say 90% of it is for oil and to enrich some of his very wealthy billionaire donors? And I think 10% of it is ego, with Machado accepting the Nobel Peace Prize. We saw Machado on Sean Hannity's show yesterday, kissing the ass of Donald Trump, basically offering to give him the Nobel Peace Prize. I think 10% of this is ego, and he still is upset that Machado accepted the award and he didn't get it. And like I said, 90% of it is about money. Would you agree with that?
I think you're spot on, Brian, completely. And I agree with your ratios there. And by the way, this is what set Ben Ferguson off on CNN last night, because I said, it's oil, it's the oil, it's the oil. You're right. That's Trump's thinking. The people around Trump, Stephen Miller and Marco Rubio, they literally want America to be the empire of this hemisphere. Trump's an idiot, so he can't even comprehend that. For him, it's all oil and ego.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you. So I'm listening to conservative talk radio on the way to work. Don't even ask me why. Occasionally, I suffer through it. And I'm listening to Clay Travis, a guy who I have debated on Piers Morgan. And he's asked by a caller, and a caller asked him a really good question. Who's to stop another nation from indicting Donald Trump and coming in here and trying to take him out, or at least bring him into custody? And Clay Travis's response was, well, we're America, as if that makes it okay. That was his actual reasoning behind the excuse as to what Donald Trump did. Well, it's okay because we're America. What's your thought?
Yeah, Brian, it really shows, right, the hypocrisy of the America, whatever America First is. Criticize Marjorie Taylor Greene all you want. She's she's America First pure. Um, uh, and regime change, invading a sovereign country, taking over their natural resources. There's nothing America First about that. So guys like Clay Travis, in my old world of right wing talk, they got to figure out how to dance this dance, just like they have to figure out how to dance the Epstein dance. What a sucky way to live, right? I mean, you do your radio show every day, and I guarantee you that every time you open your mouth, you say what you believe.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
Brian, I have so many of my former colleagues in right wing talk who told me they can't do that because they don't want to lose their audience. That's really where right-wing media is these days.
How sad. Speaking of a sucky life, think about a guy like a Nick Sortor who's outside of Tim Walz's home, calling him retard and dressed up in weird gear. And then you have people like Nick Shirley, as you know, who continue to grift and sell sweatshirts. By the way, they haven't uncovered any fraud, and they're claiming I did this to Tim Walz. I ruined his career. When are they dumb enough that they don't even understand that they've made the Democrats stronger now that Amy Klobuchar is probably going to win by 15 points and Tim Walz is probably going to take her Senate seat? It makes the Democrats stronger. Do they not understand that, Joe?
Well, no, they don't. And by the way, if Amy Klobuchar becomes governor of Minnesota, I'd love it, Brian, if she appointed Al Franken as the next senator from Minnesota.
Love Al Franken.
Look, let's be real. Nick Shirley, that young punk, didn't reveal any fraud. There has been a major fraud issue in Minneapolis. But again, my former party takes that issue and makes it a racist attack against Somali Americans. Brian, I got to be honest, there's part of me that's disappointed in Walz. I wish he had kind of planted his flag here and not walked away. I understand why he's doing what he's doing, but I wish he'd fought more and said, I'm going to run for re-election, and damn it, I'm going to make this issue my platform.
Joe, I said basically those entire words yesterday on my show. I could not agree with you more. Obviously, my point is I think the Democrats are stronger now with Amy Klobuchar. But yeah, it doesn't look good. I wish Tim Walz fought a little bit more. I think we both have a mutual respect for Tim Walz. Certainly his service. I think he's a decent man. I thought he was the wrong guy for the VP pick. Clearly, in my opinion, he was. And he's not that fighter that you need in this kind of situation. All due respect to him and his family. But I completely agree with what you're saying. What do you got going on in your podcast, man? It keeps getting more and more popular. I love what you're doing. What's next for your podcast? Tell me about it.
Hey, Brian, it's so funny. Like I'm in a weird spot, and I've been in a weird spot for a while. I'm a Democrat, but I'm kind of not really, but I kind of am. I'm a never Trumper. I'm a principled conservative. It's hard, as you know, because you're in the same world I am. If you're not on one of the sides, it's hard to get your voice out there. So I'm just trying to grow my audience. I think there are a lot of people, I know you know this, who don't feel like they fit right now. And we're all voting Democrat because Republicans are such an existential threat to our democracy. So all I'm trying to do is inform people like you do as best as I can until I run for president sometime soon.
Well, I think there's a reason why people like Scott Jennings, you're like kryptonite to them. They just do not want to debate you because you're outspoken, you're opinionated, you're a former Republican, and you're honest. So please, Joe, keep up the great work. Keep doing what you're doing. I love seeing you on CNN. I love seeing you on all these networks, man. And I love you, pal. Keep up the great work, and we'll talk to you soon. And I always appreciate your time, Joe. Thank you.
Hey, Brian, I love you, man. I love you back, but we got to be careful. We're starting rumors. You and I have such a freaking man crush on each other. We're very good friends, everybody. All right? Thanks, Brian.
Don't tell Lindsey Graham. All right. Sorry. That was thanks, Joe. Joe, you're the best. I love you too, pal. That's Joe Walsh, everybody. Former presidential candidate. I think Joe's awesome. And by the way, I've taken some crap over the years because a lot of people are like, he's not a real Democrat. He's a phony. No, I don't think Joe has a phony bone in his body. He's always been honest with me. I've never sensed that with him, and I love Joe Walsh to death. I think he's great, and I think any party would be lucky to have him and accept him. And yes, that's how I feel about Joe Walsh, and I always will. So I want to play you one clip, if I may, and then coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to be joined by Wajahat Ali. This being the anniversary of January 6th. And I want to play you a clip from a guy by the name of Charlie Kirk. Once in a while, Charlie Kirk got it right. And this is what Charlie Kirk said on January 6th. This is the actual verbiage and the immediate response. And to his credit and to others on that day, they had the correct response. This is what Charlie Kirk said to his listeners on January 6th. Listen to this.
So Mitch McConnell said that we are not going to tolerate criminal behavior. I completely and totally agree. I think that all the people that came into Congress today that broke the law, they should be held to the highest level of criminal prosecution.
That's what Charlie Kirk said on January 6th. Now, there were McCarthy and others that said that Donald Trump should bear some responsibility. Charlie Kirk was right then, but then he changed his tune. So many others did as well. Donald Trump called some of those people who beat cops on January 6th hostages and patriots. But as I go back to that day, and I was on the air that day, and as I watched a bunch of insurrectionists storm the Capitol, and as we saw the video of very brave officers being beaten, and it wasn't just Ashley Babbitt that lost her life that day. And by the way, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Ashley Babbitt, in my opinion, got what she deserved. It's very sad. I certainly don't wish that upon her or anybody. But Ashley Babbitt put herself in that position. And by the way, it was investigated, so I don't care what people on the right say. They could call that Capitol Police officer a murderer. It doesn't change what our investigation showed, that he was well within his rights to do so. And I don't feel bad for Ashley Babbitt. And I think it's despicable that her family received $5 million. It's a joke. There was also a woman that had a heart attack and was trampled that day. Brian Sitnick died hours later, the following day. And again, people on the right say, oh, well, Brian Sitnick's death had nothing to do with January 6th. Yeah, those people I like to call a-holes. That's what they are. The coroner who performed an autopsy on Brian Sitnick, and you can look this up if you don't believe me. A week later, he did an interview with a local publication and said that the state that Brian Sitnick's body was in, January 6th had something to do with it. So there you go. My thoughts are to Brian Sitnick's family on this day. There are several Capitol Police officers who committed suicide. The family members said they were never the same since that day. They went into deep depressions. They're heroes, and I wish they were still here. Over 140 officers were injured that day. Some of those officers have traumatic brain injury. This was not a tourist visit. This was not a scheme put forth by the FBI or a scheme put forth by actors or Democrats. And another conspiracy theory that right-wingers like to put into play is that somehow the FBI was behind this, that there were 250 agents there. Well, let me explain to the MAGA dopes out there, because some of you are very stupid people. I'm just going to call it for what it is. Some of you are very dumb. There were around 200,000 people there that day. Not all violent. Like I said, there were about 1,500 people there that day that broke the law. About half of those people were violent criminals. But there were 200,000 people there that day in Washington, D.C., in front of the Capitol. It is not unusual to have a few hundred FBI agents there in the case of a couple 100,000 protesters. That's why they were there. They didn't force anybody to go into the Capitol. They didn't force anybody to commit violent crimes. And again, another right-wing conspiracy theory that I always hear from so many people on the right that defend what happened on January 6th starts with this. They say, oh, well, the Capitol police officers let them in. Again, Pure stupidity. There were a few officers that let some Capitol Police, the few Capitol Police officers that let some of the rioters in. Why? I've talked about this. If you have a few hundred protesters in one area trying to break in to the Capitol, and you're one Capitol Police officer with a gun, you have two choices. You either take out your gun and start shooting people, or you put your gun down and you allow them to go in. Those Capitol Police officers, and there were only a few of them that did that, and I don't blame them, testified under oath about this in front of the January 6th Commission. But you'll hear from the right, oh, they just let them in. No, it didn't really work that way. There were over 1,500 people that were prosecuted, half of them violent criminals, some of whom beat police officers with their own batons, sprayed them with bear spray, tried to gouge out their eyes. Most of it is on video. All of us have seen the images, and if you claim you haven't seen the images, then you're an idiot. We saw Kevin McCarthy and other Republicans call out the violence, say Donald Trump was in part responsible. And then the response we get from some of these people now is, well, he told people to protest peacefully. Guess what? I listened very carefully to Jack Smith and his testimony under oath. I would imagine some of you have as well. Jack Smith said, doesn't happen without Donald Trump. Beyond the shadow of a doubt, Donald Trump was guilty of many crimes leading up to January 6th and that day. I would say dereliction of duty. Why do I say that? Because we know Donald Trump sat there on his ass for 4 hours and did nothing. They pleaded with him to put out a video. It took him 4 hours to do so. Melania Trump was also asked to tweet something out. She refused to as well, because these are despicable human beings. We cannot forget what happened on January 6th. That is Donald Trump's legacy. No rule of law, thinking that you're above the law. No regard for human life. No regard for Capitol Police. No regard for our Constitution. No regard for democracy as it stands today. January 6th was not a day that we should ever forget. And I don't care what people define it. Do I think it was an insurrection? Yes, because they tried to overthrow a free and fair election, chanting, hang Mike Pence. Mike Pence, do the right thing. Do I think it was an insurrection? Yes, but I don't care to get into discussions with people on whether they think it was an insurrection or whether they think it was some sort of mob riot or whatever they call it. I don't care. What I do care about is that people died, people were severely injured, and it doesn't happen if Donald Trump does what every other president has done in American history, which is concede. And the White House, as despicable as they are today, put out a memo blaming Nancy Pelosi for what happened. Donald Trump, the president of the United States, could have called in the cavalry and could have called in the National Guard if he chose to do so. Nancy Pelosi did not have to do it. It was Donald Trump who could have done it himself. He didn't need Nancy Pelosi's approval. We know that. And we saw how fast the National Guard was called out to Washington, D.C. when he wanted to clean up the streets. So you can't use that excuse either. But that is the narrative that the White House is trying to put out today on this anniversary. Blame Nancy Pelosi. Blame Democrats. Blame Joe Biden's DOJ. Blame anybody and everybody but the white supremacist, MAGA, Trumper, criminals, and thugs that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Blame them. No, they won't do that. We should blame them and Donald Trump, but no, they won't do that. Well, guess what? I'll take Jack Smith's testimony under oath over any right-wing moron, MAGA moron, pig that has their commentary today blaming the left and blaming Nancy Pelosi. I will not have that. I will not tolerate that. We know what happened that day. Obviously, I blame the people who committed those heinous crimes and acts that day. And I also blame Donald Trump for inciting what took place that day. And if you're one of those people that doesn't want to put any responsibility on Donald Trump, and you're one of those people that says, oh, well, he has the right to say he won the election. Honestly, if you're one of those people, then screw you. Honestly, if you're one of those people, then I have literally zero respect for you. And I would imagine that's at least half the Republican Party today, right? I would imagine that is at least half the party today. And it's sick and it's sad. But we cannot forget. And I give my friend Pam Hemphill a lot of credit for her testimony on Capitol Hill today. She got emotional. She apologized to some Capitol police officers. She called out what happened that day. She owned it, and I have a lot of respect for her for doing so. Coming up next to talk to us a little bit about January 6th and talk to us about his thoughts on Donald Trump basically kidnapping the president and taking over Venezuela. My friend Wajahat Ali will be joining us next. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Here's the deal. The country's a mess, and America's youth is stuck at the center of a tug-of-war between propaganda, billionaires, and political clowns who think TikTok is a national security threat, yet can't open their own email. But the real threat that keeps them up at night isn't TikTok. It's the power of the youth vote, and that's what the Unfuck America Tour is after. We're traveling the country, hitting campuses and cities, exposing the right wing's playbook and calling out all the tricks they use to hook young people. We saw the youth vote shift in 2024, and if we don't reclaim that momentum now, we lose the future, our future. We're not bankrolled by billionaires, corporations, or dark money. We're backed by regular people like you, who won't sit back while the rich strip this country for parts. We need you to help us stay on the road to push back against the misinformation machine. Click the link in the description or head over to unfuckamericatour.com to donate, because nobody else is coming to fix this mess.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NICOLEMITCHELL.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Who would have thought?
All right, welcome back. Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. We just had former presidential candidate Joe Walsh, good friend of mine, joining us on the program. This being the anniversary of that fateful day on January 6th. We cannot forget that. We're discussing that, of course, more fallout from kidnapping the Venezuelan president, in my estimation, breaking the law, no regard for rule of law. And, the excuses coming from the MAGA right are just incredible, and we keep hearing more day to day. So the guy joining us right now, I have so much respect for. Just I love reading his Substack. He's great. Of course, the host of The Left Hook, and my friend Wajahat Ali joining us right now on the program. Wajahat, it is good to see you, my friend. You've been a very busy guy. How are you?
Hello, sir. Happy New Year. Welcome to America First, where apparently we're all about military interventionism. And I think Donald Trump might have to give back his FIFA World Peace Prize that was given to him. I would also like to show you my prize that I won. This back scratcher was given. I am the world's greatest Pakistani. By the power vested in me by myself, I hereby announce that I am the greatest Pakistani on earth. And I will not give this prize, and it is a very legitimate prize, sir.
Please don't give it back. Please don't. That is absolutely hilarious. Pretty mind-boggling. Speaking of which, though, on a lighter note, Jimmy Kimmel, cheap shot at Donald Trump, saying, geez, I wish I had that FIFA prize. What did you make of that speech he made? I love the cheap shots.
I think we need to mock and ridicule these people as much as possible. I think these people are petty and fragile and weak. And what we've seen through the history of combating fascism is that resistance groups have always mocked them. And you know how petty and fickle and weak they are, because look at Putin. Putin came in and took away not just the TV station that used to make the show that made for him, the entire TV station, right? Mussolini had people arrested. So there is something, I think, very important about mocking them, ridiculing them, exposing them, showing them as weak. Stephen Miller still can't get over, and Fox still can't get over AOC calling him short. You notice like every week or every 2 weeks, his freak of a wife comes and says, he's a sexual matador. He's powerful. Look, he's 5'10". He's so tall. This stuff stings them. And also, because we're run by the weakest, most pathetic little bitch of a man, pardon my language, it was Maduro's alleged, giraffe jerking dance that he mocked Donald Trump that finally put him over the edge. And he said, he used to make fun of me, he's disrespecting me with the dance. So I think the more that they realize they don't have the culture, they don't have the youth, they don't have the better story, and they don't have the people, and the people find them to be freaks and losers, it just weakens them. It just weakens them.
And to what you just said, I agree with you. So maybe you could help me remember the name of the guy from the Bulwark. Why am I forgetting his name? You went on Piers Morgan with him, and in a way he was
Tim Miller?
Yes. So I disagree with Tim Miller. I don't think you did anything wrong. And I know this was months back, but I got pissed off at him because he's basically attacking you for doing the same stuff and rising up and fighting against MAGA. And Tim Miller goes on Piers Morgan. Oh, I'm depressed. I'm really sad. I'm really depressed. Wajahat, I don't like what you've done. I'm kind of paraphrasing what he said, but it's just like, dude, this is why Donald Trump got back into office, because of people like, and by the way, I think Miller's a really smart guy. Okay. Don't get me wrong. But part of the reason why Trump got back into office is because of people like that. I'm sorry that sometimes act like wussies. I mean, we got to stand up to these people, Wajahat, and I defended you there. I thought Tim Miller was dead wrong on that.
Yeah. Tim Miller, I've known him for a while. This is who Tim Miller is. He's part and parcel of the centrist establishment who wants restoration instead of reformation. He's the guy who's helped create this MAGA movement, and then he's made a lot of money off it. The Bulwark, which does some really good reporting, go look at their masthead, all white. No, seriously, go look at it. All white except one reporter, right? And they're the ones who bear hug the Liz Cheney. They're the ones who want to be in the driver's seat and kick all the rest of us, the progressives, in the back seat. And then Tim Miller, much like Ezra Klein and all these corporate hacks and establishment hacks, came out and said the following: Charlie Kirk did politics the right way. And Tim Miller threw me completely under the bus on that panel where there was 4 versus 1. I was the only person of color, where I think made very legitimate critiques about what I thought was a very strange, absurd spectacle, using and abusing Charlie Kirk's murder to promote a political agenda where they blamed us for the murder of Charlie Kirk, right? They, them, the left. And I also give credit to Erica Kirk at that time, where she forgave Tyler Robinson, the alleged killer, not a transgender person, not a Muslim, not a Haitian, not a Somalian. But then what did Donald Trump say? I don't forgive, I'm not like you. And then Piers Morgan, trying with this bullshit both sides, said, Wajahat, I expected more from you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're in the anus of a man who literally used the rally of Charlie Kirk to promote a political agenda. Stephen Miller straight up mimicked Goebbels with that speech. They have sparklers and fireworks, Grindr shut down because all these closeted MAGA homosexuals are swiping right. They demand civility, but they give cruelty. They want safe spaces for themselves, no safe spaces for us. And I call it the hypocrisy, and I don't play their game where I have to be civil while they literally attack our communities. F you. When you go low, I take you out by your goddamn knees. And then Tim Miller, because he wanted to make himself seem civil and rise above, he threw me under the bus and said, this is so depressing. Oh my God. And I'm like, F you, man. You're such a snake. And of course, he threw me, the only person of color, under the bus and tried to elevate himself as being part of the civilized discourse. That's what him and Ezra Klein did. And meanwhile, the thing is that your guest shirt makes the typing disappear. Sorry about that. I just read that. But, you know, these are the same people who feed us civility politics and we're part of the same establishment, Brian, and they're all part of the same club, and they're perfectly fine going along with this charade because it doesn't personally affect
There
them.
you go. There you go. I agree. Obviously, Wajahat, I want to get to Venezuela. Before I do that, though, this being the anniversary of January 6th, I think it's an important day where, number one, I remember all those Capitol police officers and heroes who did their job, the Brian Sitnicks of the world and others, sadly, who have taken their own lives. And it was a sad day and a horrible day for the country. And we cannot forget, even though MAGA want you to forget, on this day, what do you remember and what should we be remembering about that day?
What we should remember is the first time in U.S. history that a president incited a violent insurrection against the country, that he engaged in a failed coup to overturn a free and fair election. And then he, in turn, pardoned those 1,600 insurrectionists, including those violent insurrectionists who came there with the intent to try to murder and assassinate Nancy Pelosi and Mike Pence, because Mike Pence did the right thing, listened to Dan Quayle and Justice Ludick. We got to thank Dan Quayle, of all people, I'm not making this up, folks, who advised Mike Pence to do the right thing and certify the election. And to this day, 80% of Republican voters believe the big lie. And to this day, Donald Trump still promotes the big lie that he won the election that he lost. This is a violent insurrection that was rewarded, that was not held in any way, shape, or form accountable. And the man who incited it was then elevated back to the White House because we live in the most self-destructive country on earth. And furthermore, the reason why we should pay attention to that day is we should commemorate that day. We should remember that day. We should remind all Americans that that day, brave Capitol Hill police officers were thrown to the wolves. And if it wasn't for a few people, we were this close to losing our democracy. And this regime right now and this GOP movement is an extremist authoritarian movement that is playing for all the marbles. They praise the insurrectionists, they mock the police officers, they promote the conspiracy theories. Jack Smith in his testimony straight up has all this evidence that came out. He got buried because of the Venezuela strike. Venezuela could be both a distraction from Epstein and in furtherance of their goals. Both things happen. But it's Donald Trump. He incited it. And it wasn't just Donald Trump. It was the entire Republican infrastructure, the right wing. I want to remind people that Ginny Thomas, the wife of Clarence Thomas, a Supreme Court justice, sent supportive texts supporting the insurrection to Mark Meadows, right? So this is this country that instead of holding them accountable, we allowed the coup to take place after he was elected to office. And the last thing I'll say is everyone said I was crazy that Donald Trump, I said this in 2019, 2018, go look at the tweets. Donald Trump won't leave peacefully. And all these establishment hacks, even the Tim Millers and others, are like, oh, wow, you're suffering from TDS. I'm like, you're not paying attention to the evidence of your eyes and ears. This man won't leave. The same man who incited a violent insurrection, what is he going to do with the midterms? And what is he going to do in 2028 if it seems like him and his party are going to lose? Yeah. You tell me.
That's a really good point. And when people don't believe he's going to run for a third term, I'm not somebody who, dismisses anything when it comes to that nature, Wajahat. And, it's interesting because the White House today put out a memo and put out a message to the media blaming Nancy Pelosi, basically, for what took place on January 6th. We saw how fast Donald Trump was able to get the National Guard out there when he wanted to, quote, clean up the streets. But they want to blame Democrats. They want to blame 250 FBI agents, allegedly. They want to blame George Soros. They want to blame actors, and they want to blame Nancy Pelosi for everything that took place that day. What do you say to them?
Nothing works anymore, right? Every accusation is a confession. It's all projection all the time. I'm tough against drugs, but I'm just going to pardon the ex-president of Honduras, who was a major drug smuggler, right? We want to expose the deep state because the leftists are a bunch of child pedophiles. Speaking about the Epstein files, we're going to sit on that because most likely it shows that our daddy and King Donald Trump raped girls. We're about cleaning the swamp and draining the swamp. We're going to make $5 billion through crypto, right? We're against crime and fraud. We're going to go against the Somalis, but we're going to just go ahead and pardon this businessman, Richard Gentile, who grifted thousands of Americans to the tune of $1.2 billion. It was Nancy Pelosi, who was not the president at the time. She was responsible for unleashing the National Guard. Oh, yeah, I'm going to unleash the National Guard to terrorize or help the military and masked armed ICE agents terrorize liberals in blue cities. It's all bullshit. It's all falling apart. This man is old, damaged, decaying. They can't even lie properly anymore because they're so drunk with power, with hubris. They're reckless. They're incompetent. Look at Venezuela. You and I are old enough, Brian. We remember that the Bush administration at least had the decency to lie to us. They performed about the weapons of mass destruction, and Colin Powell came with the vial, right? And they sold us on the bullshit lie. Now they don't even lie. They're like lazy. At least do your homework. Donald Trump is like, it's about the oil. No, isn't it about saving the Venezuelan people? Oil. Isn't it about democracy? Nope. Oil. Yesterday when he was asked, I think it was yesterday or the day before on Air Force One, did you consult oil companies? Yep, before and after. Today on Morning Joe, it's because of the oil. He's mentioned oil more than 24 times, right?
Yep.
So now the hypocrisy, the lies, you're following what Susie Wiles described Donald Trump as having an alcoholic's personality, even though the man's a teetotaler. The entire right wing now has to be in line with an alcoholic's personality and completely contort themselves like a Cirque du Soleil gymnast, right? And you're seeing it in real time, these reeks, these pathetic neckbeards like Matt Walsh and who's the other one? Cat Turd. All of them. Literally, folks, how do you shame shameless people? For the past year, they said, America first, no new wars, don't vote for Democrats. And now they're like, we love wars. And Stephen Miller is now like, yep, America, Don Roe doctrine, we're going to have military might, and we're going to do what we want. And now they're like, yes, we have no shame, no values, no spine, no ethics. And now we're going to be completely up Trump's anus. And whatever Trump says, we're going to now friggin' contort ourselves because we're not real men with convictions.
And now they're talking about Greenland. No, that's okay. I love it. And now they're not ruling out taking over Greenland, putting boots on the ground in Greenland. And who's to stop Donald Trump from now invading another country? What's to stop now other countries from indicting Donald Trump and coming here and taking out Donald Trump? The excuse I hear from MAGA is, well, but we're America. We're America. What do you make of that?
American might, right? Shock and awe. We have the American military. Yes, we do. We have more weapons, more guns, more tanks than any other country in the world. But I give you Vietnam, wasn't enough. I give you Iraq, wasn't enough. I give you Afghanistan. I give you Libya. I give you our entire footprint of coups and takeovers and meddling in Central and Latin America. What happens is blowback. And what they don't realize is that, sure, on one-to-one war, yeah, we'll destroy. But it's asymmetrical warfare, right? The Western Hemisphere can very quickly, just like that, unite against us. He's already threatening Colombia. And the Colombian president is making peace with Venezuela. He says that they're our brothers. Now he's talking about Mexico. He's talking about Cuba. He's talking about Canada. Well, what will happen with these guerrilla forces, right? There's American companies, American tankers, American tourists will be kidnapped, right? There is going to be blowback. And then if he goes after Greenland, and I think he will because he's drunk with power, and he has all these yes men around him. Look at what you did. You're the man. You went after Venezuela. It was awesome. Look at the small bump you got in the polls. You could do anything you want. Go get Greenland. He goes, I could go get Greenland. I'm going to go get Greenland. He's going to trigger NATO Article 5. So our allies then are going to move against us. America is going to become more isolated. A great gift to Russia and China. His trade war is failing. Americans are more sick because RFK wants to kill us all by getting rid of vaccines. We've lost money because people aren't coming here anymore. Overreach on immigration, overreach on foreign policy. We're going to get weakened. We're going to get more hungry. The billionaires are going to get richer. And I'm telling you, man, there's going to be a point where there's only so much people can take. Sadly, with the MAGA rubes, the 30%, they're just going to go all in and die for the sake of white supremacy for their cult. But for the rest of us, I don't think this little high that he has right now, this high is not going to last. I give it a week because he's already, back in the day, shock and awe, democracy, freedom, weapons of mass destruction. Americans are like, yeah, we have to be safe. Now he's saying oil, and we're going to run the country. Brian, I don't see any appetite even within MAGA. You saw even Megyn Kelly last night flip on him.
Yeah, which is rare, actually. I was actually surprised that she did that. If you're just joining us, he is Wajahat Ali, the Left Hook, great podcaster and Substack. So Wajahat, where do you see this going from here? I mean, I know that's the big question, right? Obviously, you have the president of Venezuela who is behind bars. We saw him in court yesterday with his wife. And then I wanted to get your thoughts on Machado, who basically was kissing Donald Trump's ass on Sean Hannity last night, saying, I'm going to give him this Nobel Peace Prize back. I'm going to give it to him, or we're going to share it, or whatever she was saying, because she wants to be the president. What do you make of where we go from here now?
It's overreach. It's going to be backlash. It's going to be blowback because folks, think about it. Who is we? We're going to run it. It ain't me, ain't Brian. We're going to take the oil. I don't see a check. So even if you bring in oil companies, and even if you bring in little Marco Rubio, and even if you try to engineer some sort of a takeover, America historically has been terrible at that. Now, suppose you have a yes man, and you have for the moment Delcy Rodriguez, and Donald Trump already threatened her. You've already seen yesterday, last night, I don't know if you saw in Caracas in Venezuela, there's also gunfights, right?
Yeah.
Whenever this has happened in Central and Latin America, it doesn't go down like smoothly. There's civil war, there's guerrillas, there's infighting, there's economic instability. And the grand irony, Brian, is that if America didn't intervene, if America actually supported democracy, if America actually came in as a good faith partner, you would have economic stability in Central America. You would have less, wait for it, immigrants coming from those countries, right? But it's like the world's dumbest people. It's like, I have a small little ant. What should I do? Burn it with fire and then take an AR-15 and shoot it. And like you end up shooting your own home. That's what's going to happen. And this blowback is going to happen both internationally and domestically, right? So we're stuck because even if you want to get the oil, what people don't realize, you have to extract the oil, you have to refine the oil. It's going to take at least 10 years. Who's going to fund it? And eventually Americans will be like, yo, why is this our money going to Venezuela with potential boots on the ground, where now there's a target on American companies, American infrastructure, and tourists? We're meddling in friggin' now Venezuela. We already gave $40 billion to Milei of Argentina. We want to have a threat in a war with Canada. We're going to go into Greenland. We're going to lose our allies. The appetite is not going to be there. You're going to see a backlash in America. You're going to see America become more isolated. We're going to get more mired in the muck. You already saw it, folks, with Iraq and Afghanistan, right? It's going to drain us of our resources. And meanwhile, it's going to make China and Russia great again. That's where I see it happening. I don't see anything good coming from this.
No, I completely agree with you. I think this is going to be bad. And I know the circumstances are different from the war in Iraq, but there are also some similarities where you have people celebrating on the streets until they finally realize that maybe America is not out for them. Maybe Donald Trump is out for himself and his rich billionaire donors. Final topic, Wajahat. These right-wing grifters, including Nick Shirley, who I actually ran into a few weeks ago at AmFest in Phoenix, who I don't think is a very bright individual, another right-wing grifter. You have people like Nick Sortor, who was basically stalking the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, and outside of his home, calling him retard, among other things, which is just despicable. And now Tim Walz steps down. But why is it that these MAGA grifters don't seem to understand they help the Democrat Party? My theory is, Klobuchar is going to be the next governor, stronger candidate. She's probably going to win by 15 points. Tim Walz most likely is going to take that Senate seat. What are they celebrating about? They didn't uncover any fraud as far as I know. What do you make of this story?
I mean, what it is, unfortunately, is the continuation of the Jack Posobiec, Alex Jones grift. And what it shows is the failure of corporate media. And what it also shows is the radicalization of the right wing, because the Republican leader in Minnesota openly admitted that she worked with Nick Shirley. So she worked with this fraudster to promote these debunked conspiratorial videos that were so bad that even Barry Weiss's CBS, yes, even Barry Weiss's CBS had to come out and say, this is whack. Even Fox and Friends had a segment calling out the lies. Like even CNN, folks, that's how bad it was that these establishment hack outlets now, CBS and CNN, had to be like, whoa, this is nonsense. But what it does do is it fuels a culture war. What it does do, it gives a 24/7 intravenous drip into the right wing and gives them a new enemy, right? What it does do is it distracts from Trump's failures. What it does do is increase the nativism, the white supremacy, the anger, the rage against Somalians, against Haitians. What it does do is it further radicalizes the base against the rest of us, the liberals. And what it does do is it spreads. That went viral, man. So many millions of people saw Nick Shirley's video, and thankfully there was some debunking. But speaking about Somalia and just how it works, where's the Somali fraud? You all were talking about it nonstop for 2 weeks, and then Venezuela comes and it's gone. Haitians, I thought they were eating dogs and pets, gone. Transgender students, I thought that was the biggest threat to America, gone. The invasion, the caravan. So when will America and when will our institutions realize we're suffering from Stockholm Syndrome and have normalized bad faith actors who continue using our institutions to launder their hate? When will they figure out, Brian? I don't think they will, which is why I think independent media is the future.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you on that. And, we'll see what happens here in Minnesota. But we all know, right, that Joe Biden opened up investigations back, Garland, back in 2022. There's still a lot of people that are locked up. Over 90 people have been convicted. Licenses have been revoked. That's another thing. This isn't a new story, and people on the right are making out, look at what Nick Shirley exposed because he knocked on a few doors of some daycare centers that were closed. Like, what did he expose? And that's another thing. This isn't a new story, right? Watch
Nope.
out.
It's not a news story, but because the right wing lives its own incestuous bubble, they failed to see that Minnesota local newspapers were covering it. They failed to see the New York Times was covering it. They failed to see that the DOJ during the Biden administration had already indicted people, arrested people. They failed to see that the ringleader was, wait for it, a white woman. They failed to see that people were already arrested, and they failed to recognize that Nick Shirley went to operating daycare centers that were simply closed, and the ones that were closed weren't due to fraud. It was because of safety violations, right? So that's why it was so egregious and dangerous that you even had CBS come out and CNN come out, but the damage is done. And I just want people to realize we are dealing, it's about 30% of this country. I've been saying this for 8 years. Look at all the numbers. We have lost 30% of this country for our lifetime. They belong on Earth like 4. They listen to conspiracy theories. They do not listen to logic or facts. They believe that Donald Trump won the election that he lost. They believe that vaccines cause autism. They believe anything that Trump will say. It's 30%, folks. It's a minority, but it's a sizable minority. And it comes to a point, going back full circle, when will we stop being civil with these terrible human beings? When will we call them out? I'm not interested in civility with Charlie Kirk, who said that Islam is the sword that the left will use to slit the throat of America. A man who said one of the worst things that happened was the Civil Rights Act. A man who said that black people were better off during segregation. Are you fine being civil with them? Go ahead, Tim Miller. You be civil and you get there and you feather your nest, and liberals keep giving you all money, even though you guys are the ones who created this problem, and you and Ezra Klein and the entire corporate establishment who sits there eating pretty, partying with all these people, friends with all these people, you engage in civility politics. I'm going to fight the fascists.
Yeah, you and me both, Wajahad. I'm on your team. I couldn't agree with you more. Before I let you go, give out that information, please, because I love your Substack. You're one of the best in the business. The Left Hook podcast. You got a couple podcasts going now that are absolutely wonderful. Give out that information so people can follow you.
Yeah, I'm very busy on the Left Hook Substack. It's the lefthook.substack.com. There are no paywalls. Everything is free. I depend on the kindness of strangers. If you have a few bucks, I have a special going on right now, $3.75 a month. But if not, it's all free. Just subscribe. No paywalls. And I'm also on YouTube at YouTube Wajahat Ali. And we have fantastic conversations and fantastic guests. And I got to bring you on one of these days on my Substack, but you're always so busy with your show.
Yeah, happy to, my friend. Yeah, I'm doing OAN, Pierce Morgan. I'm still waiting for us to get on that same panel on that show. Have you ever done Chris Cuomo, by the way?
Cuomo has been Cuomo. I mean, I might as well admit it now. I've been sharing some posts about a colleague of mine who's been threatening me on Twitter. It's Cuomo. And Cuomo has lost his mind over the past 2 weeks and is just unhinged and just threatening me. And then I said, guess this person. And a few people who have already also been threatened by Cuomo on Twitter are like, that's Cuomo. I didn't admit it. I'm admitting it. Here you go. It's a scoop for you. It's Cuomo. So Cuomo lost his mind because I criticized Cuomo. I said, how come you always talk about Palestinians and Muslims and the Muslim Brotherhood, not a peep about Israel. And then he's like, and then he accused me of being like the Muslim Brotherhood and making excuses for like a violent Muslim extremism. Like, do you know me? I'm the one who's consistently gone against all violent extremists. Again, how come you didn't talk about Israel? And then he kept insulting me. So I think I called him Fredo, which made him really pissed off. And I said, were you always this stupid? And like, how dare you think that you are smarter than I? That's an exact quote. Do you think you are smarter than I? And then I wanted to respond, based on that, yes. Truly, he's a weak man, fragile to the bone.
Did he really threaten you?
Yeah. Hold on. Well, now that we have it on, just stay with me.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm very interested in this now.
Right,
I was unaware.
Chris Cuomo, did you think I was an agent of genocide? Oh, this is what pissed me off. Did you randomly, December 15th, did you think I was an agent of genocide when I reached out about your daughter, offering any access or help I could? My response, Chris, I find it low and gross. You are using my daughter's cancer to somehow absolve yourself of your recent terrible political takes. Also, that was a decent thing you did. He didn't do anything, by the way, because she was a 2-year-old suffering from cancer. Think of the Palestinian kids her age starved and killed by Israel during the past 2 years. His response, Waj, fuck you. I'm reminding you who I am. I don't have takes like some digital DICM. Go after Hamas. Stop defending extremist Islamists. Then you will be a fair broker. But calling me an Islamophobe or white defender, F you. My response, hit dogs holler in A minor. You have fallen so low. His response, you can't be serious. I do not agree with you about Hamas or the allegation of genocide. Does not make me low. You have forgotten that talking the S word on Twitter does not make you formidable. My response, pot, kettle, Cuomo. I'm not the one talking trash on Twitter. You know better. You are riling up all the freaks to talk about Islamic extremism while this admin is going full Nazi and threatening deportations. It is irresponsible in my opinion. His response, extremism, Islamism, not Islamic. It's a major threat. We disagree, but that does not make me an Islamophobe, and you know it. Then he keeps going on and on and on. And then he finally says, wait. Now I have to say this.
Was this DM or was this public?
Oh, this DM. This is hilarious. Check that. Now, this was December 22nd. You think I am dumb? You think you have a better understanding of anything than I? That's an exact quote. And who told you can use obnoxious language and not at some point pay forward with a punch in the face? That's a threat. If you want to talk like a tough guy, you better be ready to act like a tough guy. Are you? Of course not. You're becoming a troll, which is why you are the one everyone is dismissing as another radical big mouth who gets too much protection in America. I happen to disagree with that disposition towards people who stay stupid-ish like you, but you're a reason things are getting worse. Now go play the victim and say you are threatened. And I have just to respond, I'm almost over, but this is so good. And I said, Chris, you are the Fredo of the family, clearly insecure and trying to be something you are not, which is a man of integrity. I hope News Nation is paying you well for whatever it is that you have become. It is a sad fall. I really hope you weren't always like this. Maybe there's a way out for you, inshallah. And then he said, you don't even know what an insult is supposed to mean to an Italian American. But if I said something similar to you, you would be jumping up and down about Islamophobia. It's not a phobia. It's that you're creating a stupid fixation. This is all him. Exact quotes. You can insult me anywhere you want. That you would never to my face, and we both know it. You're stuck in a crowded field of unforgettable people. So unless you have some kind of weird personal trauma at some point soon, TikTok. And I responded, I'll gladly say this to your face in a calm, measured tone and explain why I'm insulting you based on your unhinged behavior on horrible positions. And you can dish it, but you can't take it like all fake tough guys. Maybe this is how you always were, or maybe this is what your new job requires of you. Either way, it's a sad fall. To be continued in person. Then you could tell me. I will make it happen early in the year. To which I finally concluded, Merry Christmas.
Oh my God. You have
That's
to
breaking news just for you.
That you have to release that publicly, those DMs. It's unbelievable. First of all, he's unhinged. Second of all, your responses are absolutely hilarious and on point. And it's amazing. It seems like message by message, he's getting more and more angry. By the second, like, wow, just unhinged stuff, man.
Yeah, I shared it, and just, I usually never share this stuff, but I shared it and I said, guess who? And I never mentioned it. And then other people who he's bullied, Parker Malloy was one who said, let me guess, Chris Cuomo. Sounds exactly like it. I didn't say anything to her, but now I'm like, F these people. He could, go. I mean, He used my, it's an act of cowardice. And what really pissed me off, my daughter was suffering from stage 4 cancer. She
Right.
was
I
2 years
know.
old at the time.
Yep. Mhm.
She's now alive. There's only 2 people who have ever used my daughter's cancer to protect themselves from criticism: Chris Cuomo and another weak right winger who claimed to have helped my daughter, even though I don't know what they did, and then used that proactively to defend themselves from criticism. And you tell me, Brian, what type of person does that?
I think a coward. I think somebody who can't defend the indefensible. That's what I think. I think it's sad and it's horrible. And every single time you mention your daughter, my heart goes out to her for fighting the good fight, and obviously your family. I just think we should never be talking about, first of all, a 2-year-old daughter that at one point had cancer, which is awful. And why Chris Cuomo would even bring that up in the conversation it is quite bizarre and cowardly. That's my personal
To protect
opinion.
himself,
Yeah.
and that's the weakness. There's a few things I didn't mention in there only because I jumped, but that was about 80% as verbatim. To be fair, folks, I quoted myself and I quoted him. So there you go.
That
And
is
I usually don't like to
really
do that. Private DMs are private DMs, but
Yeah, but I think you have to. When somebody threatens you like that and they're as unhinged, it's one thing if they call you names, but when somebody threatens to punch you and you're a national figure like that, I think it's very stupid, first of all. And I don't recommend anybody do that, especially when you're a national figure like Chris Cuomo is. But hey, you know what? If that's what he wants to do, then I think you were able to get under his skin and you called him out. And this is the way he responds with talking about your daughter, a 2-year-old with cancer. And that's sad and unfortunate, but I'm glad you shared it with us. I think
it's threatening a punch in the face. Apparently, I'm not the only one. He talked to are you gonna get a punch in the face?
Yeah, the Fredo stuff just drives him to insanity, and you poked the bear with that one too. And I could just see you very calm at your computer.
I was very calm, man.
Very calm, just typing away with a smirk on your face, and he's like just going nuts, and you're red in the face.
That's how I am on Twitter with all these people, right? Like I sit there with a smile on my face and I can multitask because DEI, and I'm a child of immigrants. And I sit there and I drink my chai and I just rile them up sometimes. I know you do as well. And then you can just sit there. You can imagine them just button mashing like, "Arr!" And I'm like, nope, pinky in the face. And I just want them to know that we're here. We're not going to go away and we're going to mock them and ridicule them till the end.
Now I want to see Chris Cuomo versus Wajahat Ali somewhere. Not a fight. Not a fight. But I would like to see you guys have an all-out, duke-it-out debate somewhere. So maybe we'll see if that can happen down the road. Wajahat, I love you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. You're always, I know how busy you are. I always appreciate it when you take the time to come on, my friend. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Take care, man.
Thanks, Wajahat. There you go, everybody. Wajahat Ali. Wow. Sharing with me direct messages that Chris Cuomo sent to him, allegedly threatening him. That is very, very interesting. I can't wait to post that on social media and let people react to that. That was crazy. So we had former presidential candidate Joe Walsh on the show to start the show. Personal friend of mine. I love Joe. He's the best. And of course, we just had Wajahat Ali on talking about the DMs of Chris Cuomo allegedly threatening him. We have all sorts of different people on this show from time to time. And this is somebody that I've been wanting to get on this show for a while now because there's so much to talk about too. She is a liberal influencer, for lack of a better term. She is also on the Un-F America tour with myself and Destiny and Adam Mockler and all these wonderful people. You've also seen her debate Tim Pool. You've seen her on Jubilee. She's been on some of the shows that I've been on. So it is a pleasure to welcome Kyla Turner, the liberal influencer herself, joining us right now on the show. Kyla, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Thanks for hosting me. I appreciate it. I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing okay, busy. There's a lot. I'm sure you're aware. There's a lot going on in the news the last couple days. Really, the last I feel like the last 8 years, but particularly over the last year. Before we get to the news, this is kind of an exciting event that you're going to be an analyst for, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about. It's going to be in Atlantic City, and you're going to be an analyst for multiple debates that are going to be taking place there. Tell me about this new tour, for lack of a better term, of debates that you are now going to be a part of.
Yeah, so far I'm only committed to the first show, but it's called Word War Debates. It's planned to basically be like the mecca of debate show. It's IRL, which means in person for those of you who are not internet lingoed. And I'm going to be the left-wing panel analyst. So I'll be there to kind of talk about the quality of the debates from a left-wing perspective, obviously. So yeah, that's kind of the main thing that I'm going to be doing, is there to fight with Gavin McGinnis, I think, is probably my main role. So yeah,
that's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait to watch it. And I guess from what I've been told, they're having another debate in Atlantic City in March, and they want me to be a part of that. Whether I'll be debating somebody or being an analyst like you, I don't know yet, but it certainly sounds like a lot of fun. And I think this thing is going to continue to grow and grow. So I'm glad that they're doing this. And I feel like it's an appetite that, for more people want this, right? They want more debates. They want left versus right. And I think people are getting tired of the echo chamber that people have, whether it be radio or podcasts or TV shows. People want to see different perspectives, and people go at it head to head. And I think some are finally now starting to realize that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, debate content is like probably the most popular content out there right now in politics. People want to consume their politics in this like high octane kind of way. And they're trying to there's a lot of people that are trying to establish standards of debate, right? Like, what does good debate versus bad debate look like? Because there's a lot of yelling at each other, and then there's actual quality Socratic method. And there's got to be some gap between like college debates, which tend to be really high quality but very boring, to like the blood sports, which are usually really poor quality but very interesting. And I think where debate is kind of trying to strike that balance. They want to have the left, the moderate, and the right panelists to kind of offer that counters. And I think over time, they would like to erect some level of like bipartisan standards of what debate should look like that people can agree to, so that we can kind of hold people to different categories and go like, this person just is a better debater, whether we agree or disagree with them. They are like a higher skilled at this thing. I know right now they're starting in politics because it's contentious, but they would like to get into all sorts of
I don't understand why some of the national networks went away from this. I used to watch Crossfire with Tucker Carlson a lot, back when Tucker Carlson was somewhat normal. Hannity and Combs. Sean Hannity to me was never normal, but at the same time, I thought Hannity and Combs was a really good show, and the late great Combs was phenomenal. And I used to watch that show because we used to get one side versus the other side. Same thing with Crossfire. And they went away from that. I think we need that more again. Obviously, a lot to cover, Kyla, in the news. Let me just start with the anniversary, of course, of January 6th. What does this day mean to you? And when you think about that day on January 6th, what goes through your mind?
It's kind of weird, right? Being a Canadian immigrant in America, obviously, it probably means something different to me than it would to Americans who are watching their own White House be insurrected and having protesters, threatening Congress, and Congress having to hide and worried about bomb threats and stuff like that. So as a Canadian immigrant, I guess the main thing I look at January 6th is being like, I'm really glad the institution held. Like, I'm really, 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 really glad, because I really love democracy. I think it's the best governmental system that we have so far. But it also highlights how I think a lot of times when you're in long-standing democracies like Canada or America, I think we come to expect it to just continue forever because it's the status quo. We're like, we'll be a democracy tomorrow. And I think January 6th really highlights things can, like, a couple of really motivated people can change everything. And that's something to be really on your guard about, is like, in January 6th, we had Pence vehemently stand against and refuse to certify the false electorates. What do we do when JD Vance definitely will certify them, right? Like, if this happens again, right? The institutions, one of the biggest things is that January 6th failed because the institutions were strong, right? There's problems with the American system, but they held. And the question is, he's already in this last year been consolidating so much power to himself and surrounding himself with sycophants. The question is, if this happened again, will the institution hold? And I don't know the answer to that. And I think that that's really important, because people need to realize, like, don't take democracy for granted, right? It's not something to be taken for granted for. So.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that one for sure. What do you make of the last several days in the news cycle where Donald Trump basically invades Venezuela? Over 100 people lose their life. In my opinion, I would use the term kidnapping, even though I do not defend the president of Venezuela in any way, shape, or form. I think he's a really bad guy. But what dangerous precedent do you think this sets moving forward? And do you agree with me that this was about oil and only oil, and this wasn't about saving the Venezuelan people or anything to that extent at all?
Oh, I mean, it's about territory and oil. It's also about showing China and Russia that China and Russia have been refusing to play international tit for tat for a while, right? They have basically been saying, you know what? Actually, we are going to shoot missiles into Taiwanese water. And it doesn't matter what the international community says. We're going to take it. We're going to threaten, the South China Sea, when they kept rolling up on Taiwanese and international waters, and the America air carrier came by, and China trained its guns on the air carrier for a while. China and Russia, their invasion of Ukraine, it's shown that China and Russia have already stopped playing by these rules, right? And so we're really left in this weird position where if the two great other powers aren't going to play by international rules, like, what do we do? Well, the problem with Venezuela is America showing we actually won't play by these rules anymore either. But the issue is, can anyone play by these rules anymore? Does it break just when like China and Russia decide that they won't play party? And so it's kind of I have really mixed feelings about it, because I obviously don't like Maduro, and I know Venezuelans are by and large right now, at least currently, relieved. We'll see how they feel in 2 years, right? Particularly the question of how is America going to handle Venezuela, because we certainly didn't handle Afghanistan very well. So like, what exactly are we planning to do here with the nation building that we're planning? Because we planned to nation build in Afghanistan, and we see how that went, right? And so I don't know. I'm very of mixed minds, because I understand that China and Russia aren't playing the ball game, and at some point we have to show them that if they won't play the ball game, we don't either. But also, I don't like invading people's sovereignty, and I think that's bad.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting, Kyla, that apparently it's totally okay to go after this guy with indictments, but last I checked, Benjamin Netanyahu has some indictments out there. Vladimir Putin, there's warrants out for his arrest for his partake in what took place in Ukraine, the invasion and the war in Ukraine. But we know that Donald Trump isn't going to be going after Kim Jong-un. He's not going to be going after Vladimir Putin. He's not going to be going after Benjamin Netanyahu. So I think it sets the precedence of any president on any regime in any other country can indict Donald Trump. So does that mean that they can just come into our country and take Donald Trump? I mean, that's really what the United States is saying right now, right?
Well, that's it. So this is where we're moving from. After World War II, we had Geneva, and we had a whole bunch of agreements for side where we agreed that we would have some international rules, right?
Right.
And this is America showing, fuck them rules, right? The issue is China and Russia have been saying fuck them rules for years now, right? And so how do you manage increasing Chinese aggression on Taiwan if like we are moving into a state of might makes right, which I think is bad, right? I don't like that. But if two parties are saying might makes right, and we refuse to engage in that, there's this really interesting, have you ever heard Winston Churchill? He was asked why he bombed Germany the way that he did, because he bombed in such a way that was indiscriminate enough that civilians died in Germany. And he was asked, well, why did you do that? Because when Germany was doing it to you, we all said it was a war crime. Why are you doing that? It's not a war crime. And he said, I will only keep the moral high ground if it's advantageous. If keeping the moral high ground just guarantees that like the enemies win, no. But that also means that like between China, Russia, and America, we are moving into a state of fiat again. Nobody's going to invade and take Donald Trump because America's military is the most powerful military on the planet. That's the only reason people won't. Israel's not going to get indicted, Netanyahu, because America will protect him. And North Korea will get protected by China. That's the only reason. Venezuela was just easy pickings for America to show, see, you won't play sovereignty game, neither will we. Now what, right? And it's like, that is necessarily escalatory.
Yeah,
but I don't know what the answer is when China and Russia have already been escalating in this way and are increasingly showing that they are willing to escalate. China is actively right now making moves on Taiwan, like right now. I don't know what to do about this. So I don't know. I hate everything. I just don't like any of it. I just wish foreign politics, all of these leaders could just agree to stop trying to take other people's land. That would be good. But that's not where we're at.
Also interesting that most people who voted for Donald Trump thought it was an America First agenda, and he promised that it would be no new wars, no new regime changes anywhere. And now all of a sudden they seem to be totally okay with it. Go figure. Kyla, before I let you go, I want you to give out the information. I love hearing you debate. I want you to give out the information, how people can follow you, see more of your content, which I think is awesome. We were actually walking through the grounds, for lack of a better term, at AmFest. That was very, very interesting. I don't know, Kyle, I felt like you and I were the only people on the left that were walking around there. I didn't see anybody I recognized on the left. Did you?
No, I don't think anyone was willing to pay the $350
I
to get in.
I wasn't. That's for sure.
I
They
wasn't
didn't.
either.
Yeah. But yeah, that is hefty pricey to get a handshake from Jack Posobiec. I will say that. But how do people follow you and follow your material and what you do?
Well, I was going to say before I go that it actually speaks well to you, because part of why you and I were able to get in is that we do have relationships with people that are in there that trust us enough that they were willing to give us media passes to let us look around, right? So that speaks highly of you in that, like, despite how agitated and anti-Trump you are and how aggressive you are about that, you actually are willing to break bread and build bridges with conservatives, but they have to be willing to play ball, right? Like, the bridges, there are increasingly left people that want to build those bridges, but the bridges can't be built with you still insisting January 6th was legitimate and that Trump lost the election. We can't build bridges with that because there's no equal reality. Our democracy can't continue in this world.
And I was with you. You're right. You make a good point there. And I was with you, and I shook Myron Gaines' hands, even though I think he's a really bad guy. I had a 10-minute conversation with Jack Posobiec. We smoked cigars with Michael Knowles. And then I got to say, you were in that same party that I was in. And Michael, I went up to Mike. Hello, Brian. How are you? We've had some very good debates. Are you enjoying my cigars, Brian? I mean, that's the way he talked to me. It was very odd. He's a very odd guy. But I will say this. He was very nice to me. Mm-hmm. And we even ran into the guy who sucker punched me at Tim Pool's event. And then we were having a conversation and we kind of made up. But it is weird. Do you find it, Kyla, that there are people that are just so two-faced? Because I was actually surprised, and I really mean this, at how nice so many people were to me when I was there. They shook my hand. They had pleasant conversations with me. And I'm like, how could you be such a jerk with the stuff you say on social media and like in general, and then be so nice to my face? Like, I was shocked. I was actually surprised by that. I don't know if you were, but I was.
Conservatives have always been pretty good at caring about people in their close immediate circle and not caring about the abstract other, right? And so the abstract other just always gets like the boot. And if you know them personally, and you, especially if you appear at least like heteronormative, like they're gonna be nice to you. But if you're not certain things, or you're not in their friendship circle, then they don't care, because they're never thinking about others outside of the 250 people that they personally know.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's true.
Well, a nation's bigger than 250 people, folks. So.
Yeah, that's true. I was surprised when I saw my email and I got an invite to the Michael Knowles party out there and the Jack O'Keefe party. I was like, what is going on here? But Michael Flynn, General Flynn, went on social media and he tweeted at me and said I should never be invited to AmFest ever again. So that really hurt my feelings. So I have texted General Flynn and he has yet to get back to me. So we'll see why he doesn't think I should be invited back. I didn't even mention his name like once in like a year. So I don't know why he has a problem with me. But anyway, Kyla, before I let you go, can you please give out that information? Where can people follow you and where can people find your material?
Yeah, so I go by Not So Erudite. That's ERUDITE, and that's everywhere. Twitter, YouTube's my main platform, but Twitter, Instagram, all the places you can find me.
Well, thank you so much, Kyla, for coming on. I've been wanting to get you on for a while now. Of course, we'll have you on again soon. And have fun out there in Atlantic City. You know, that was my stomping grounds. When I was like, 21, 22 years old, I'd go out there and play poker at the Taj Mahal. By the way, now it's shocker, filed for bankruptcy. Another one of Donald Trump's casinos that's closed. But I actually like the boardwalk, but I will give you a little bit of advice, okay? On the boardwalk, on one side there, a bunch of nice people and senior citizens that are playing bingo. And then don't walk to the other side because you will probably get robbed. I don't want that to happen to you. So just stay on the boardwalk and you should be okay, all right?
Sounds good. Thanks for the advice.
All right. Kyla, take care. We'll talk to you soon. Have fun out there, okay?
Thanks for hosting me.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. There you go, everybody. That's Kyla Turner. She's also part of the Un-F America tour. I do want to take some phone calls now, actually, because I don't want to run out of time, and you guys always get angry at me when I don't take phone calls. I don't want you guys to get angry at me. So I will open up the phone lines now at 702-221-7283. Again, that number is 702-221-SAVE. This has been a guest intensive show for the first almost 90 minutes or so. We had Joe Walsh joining us, former presidential candidate, good friend of mine. I love having Joe on the program. I think he's great. We just had Wajahat Ali joining us. You see him all over MSNBC, CNN, Piers Morgan. Wajahat, I think he's brilliant. And he joined us on the show. And then Kyla Turner, who is another extremely intelligent individual. IQ through the roof with these three guests that I just had on, which was a lot of fun. But now it's your turn. It's your turn to be a part of the show. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about. Today is the anniversary of January 6th. So obviously, I want to talk to you guys about that. I want to talk to you guys about the anniversary, Jan 6th, which is obviously today. And I want to give you the opportunity to call in to talk about that. A personal friend of mine, Pam Hemphill, who went to jail because of her actions on Jan 6th, spoke in front of Capitol police officers on Capitol Hill. I'm very proud of her. She was very emotional. She owned what she did. And we want to get Pam on the show to talk a little bit about that. But I thought it was very heartfelt, the things she said. And yet there are still people on the right that try to diminish what took place that day. And of course, the outcry from a lot of people who think what Donald Trump did was wrong, unconstitutional, unlawful. The kidnapping of the Venezuelan president is something that I would say. I want to get right to the phone calls now at 702-221-7283. Why don't we start off with Ryan? Ryan is first up on PTL. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, Brian. Yeah. I heard about the cats and dogs with JD Vance and Donald Trump. Also with RK and Donald J. Trump. They said don't take Tylenol. They blame Tylenol for autism.
Well, we know that, Ryan, and you're right about that. We know that certainly Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has done that. We know there's no link to taking Tylenol and autism. We know that that's a lie. We know that that's wrong. And unfortunately, there's a lot of medical misinformation and just misinformation in general coming out of those in the White House. 702-221-7283 is the number to call in again if you want to be a part of the conversation. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Jason. Jason is next on PTL. Hi, Jason.
Brian Sicknick. Let's say his name out loud. Mm-hmm. And all the other J6s that guards and officers that so-called everybody protect Blue Lives Matter, except when Trump says it doesn't matter. All those fake patriots, may you all go to hell because you try to destroy our democracy, and you're trying to destroy it now. And if China and Russia do what America's doing, y'all have started World War III because of this orange turd. And anybody and everybody that is MAGA, I hope we remember all your names because I hope you all go to hell. Brian Sicknick, remember his name.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Jason. Great phone call, and I appreciate you. And you're right, Brian Sicknick, thoughts and prayers to him and his family. Every other officer, Capitol Police officer and family member that was affected by that day. We know that some of these officers have traumatic brain injury. We know that multiple officers took their own lives. It's tragic. It's terrible. It's horrible. Brian Sicknick was a hero, as what I would say for any of these Capitol Police officers that defended the Capitol that day in our democracy. Kudos to them. I couldn't agree with you more, Jason. And phone lines are open. Maybe there's some MAGA supporters out there that think January 6th was nothing more than a tourist visit. I don't know. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Steve. Steve is next up on PTL. Hi, Steve.
To them, I couldn't.
Hi, Steve.
Brian.
Hi, do me a favor, Steve. Lower your radio because there's a little bit of a delay there. We hear it in the background, and then go right ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if it's because they didn't extend health care, but I got a prescription that was doubled today.
Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that. But we knew this was going to happen, Steve, and I try to defend people like you, and we knew that in the big and beautiful bill, prescription drugs were not going down. We knew in the big and beautiful bill, people are going to be losing their health care coverage. They're going to be losing food stamps and government assistance. And this is the last thing I wanted to happen to people like you, Steve.
Oh, there's another thing too, is you have folks that people would see what's going on, and people come together, and I'm seeing all this stuff on Facebook, and you effing Democrats, you caused all this, and
yeah.
Republicans didn't do anything wrong, and
it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know what they're brainwashed. I mean, I don't know where they get this stuff from. I really don't. I mean, Donald Trump invaded Venezuela, kidnapped their president. It was nobody's fault but Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the reason why just about everything in the grocery store is up, not down, except for eggs. Donald Trump is partially at fault for prescription drugs going up, not down, Steve, and 20 million Americans losing their Medicaid coverage and losing food stamps. Donald Trump is the reason why the unemployment rate has gone from 4.1 to 4.7%. So, I mean, they want to continue to blame Joe Biden and Democrats for all of their problems. And, they will do it in year 4 as well. Donald Trump will continue to do that because he's never taken responsibility for anything he's ever done wrong in his life. He's not going to start now. Did we lose you? Oh, I think we lost him by accident. Sorry about that. I did not hang up on you, Steve. That's my apologies. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Brett. Brett is next on PTL. Hello, Brett. Hi, Brett.
Hey, Hey, Brian. I'm here. What's up?
What's up, Brett?
Hey, today was one of my favorite shows of all time.
Oh, thank you.
That's our Ali was spectacular. He's my hero. Seriously, I feel the same way about my right wing friends, and I'm done being civil with them. I just don't see that anything's going to get better and anything's going to change, and I'm going to just just wear my heart on my sleeve and say it like it is. And and as far as the January 6th stuff, like these people are in denial that Trump did anything wrong, and he's justified all of it by pardoning them and making it that they were just on a tourist visit and it was a peaceful day.
Let me ask you this. Tell me if you disagree with this. I totally understand where you're coming from. I get what Wajahat Ali is saying. I try to treat people the way they treat me, right? At least that's what I try to do. I try to treat people the way they treat me. So if somebody who is a Trump supporter that disagrees with me on stuff, policy stuff, and if he's not lying, but it's just a matter of opinion, then I can have a respectful conversation with them. But it's very difficult to do that with some people that are just so nasty, or they'll say things like Brian Sitnick, lost his life from natural causes. It had nothing to do with January 6th. How do you treat somebody with respect, or somebody that thinks that Donald Trump won the 2020 election? Would you have a respectful geographical debate or conversation with somebody that says the earth is flat? Of course not, because you don't take what they say seriously because they have no credibility. So there's certain people, and then there's the Republican that I had on yesterday who, while I don't always agree with him, he had the moral compass to call out Donald Trump for this attack on Venezuela and calling out Donald Trump for obvious things. But I still respect the fact that he did that. And we were able to have Clint Holmes yesterday. We were able to have a really good conversation. So I'm not going to be disrespectful to everybody just because they once supported Donald Trump. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. But that's not who I'm dealing with.
Right.
It really digresses into threats and name calling and misinformation and a bunch of nonsense within no time. I find it so few and far between to have intellectual conversations with these people because what they believe is not reality.
I agree. Yeah, no, I understand. I get where you're coming from, and I totally get it. And as I say before and I say again, I give you what you give me. Right. If you're going to give me a bunch of nonsense and garbage, then I'm going to throw it right back at you. I'm going to give you facts, and I'm going to throw it right back at you. And I'm going to explain to you how ill-informed and ignorant you are. I mean, that's what I do with these people. Obviously, they don't like it. They can't spell the word fact. And I totally understand where you're coming from, my friend. I really do. And I appreciate the call. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Gabe. Gabe is next on PTL. Hi, Gabe.
Hey, Brian. Happy New Year, buddy. I hope you're doing well, bud.
I am. Good to talk to you. What's on your mind today, Gabe?
It's always nice to talk to you, too. So we already know that on Saturday, Trump basically did a regime change with Venezuela. So the topic I want to discuss is, listen, when is the European leaders, Canada and Mexico, gonna get their sugar honey iced tea together and basically sanction the United States, cut off trade with the United States, and drop the U.S. dollar in bonds? If they want to stop Trump in his tracks, they need to go put a hurt on him economically. I just don't understand why they're so timid in regards to dealing with him. Hey, Claudia Sheinbaum, Trump made it very clear he's going to bomb Mexico.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Same thing with Greenmark.
That's true. I mean, they have not taken it off the table, Gabe. You are 150% correct. We're going to play some audio here in a few minutes from that. You are 150% correct. They have not taken off the table, boots on the ground, taking over Greenland. Mexico is something else. And people say, no, they would never do that. The Trump administration. Oh, really? Really? You're going to put it past them? They just went into Venezuela and kidnapped their president while pardoning another former president for worse crimes that he was convicted of in a court of law. So I'm with you 100%. We can't take it off the table. Let's go to Alexa. Alexa is next up on PTL. Hey, Alexa, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, how are you doing?
Good. What's on your mind today, Alexa?
I have two questions.
Sure.
Comment what the guy said.
Yeah.
Why does it matter? Trump is not going to care if they take it away from us because he doesn't care about the American people. So if they take the money away from America, it's only going to hurt America.
Yeah. Well, listen. Yeah, listen. There is no moral compass for people on the right anymore. There is no moral compass for people that continue to spew propaganda, whether you're a right-wing grifter on social media or you're a Stephen Miller. These people have no moral compass. They have blood on their hands. Over 100 people lost their lives. Look at all the people that were killed in the Iraq War. Hundreds of thousands of innocent Iraqis, thousands of American soldiers. And for what? We found Saddam Hussein with a pellet gun and a candy bar in a hole with two of his helpers. Am I glad that Saddam Hussein is dead? Yes. Am I glad that Maduro might spend the rest of his life in jail? Yes. But that doesn't mean it was worth it. It doesn't mean it was the right decision to make. It wasn't. It wasn't the right decision to make back then, and it wasn't the right decision to make now. The difference being Donald Trump doesn't care. He's telling you the truth. This was about oil. George W. Bush just lied to all of us and said that there were weapons of mass destruction. Donald Trump only wants oil to benefit his richest donors. Finally, before we take a break, we are going to go to Leonard, who is going to be filling in. And I shouldn't say, why am I saying filling in? I'm going to be here tomorrow. Leonard's going to be my co-host tomorrow. Leonard Cardinal. Leonard, what's up, man?
Hey, Brian. Good show today. Really good content.
Thank you.
I had to call. As you guys know, it's January 6th, and, I'm just watching some terrible stuff on TV. I'm watching Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, refusing to post the plaque honoring the police officers on January 6th for giving their lives, for fighting for the Capitol, for protecting the senators, protecting the vice president. And I'm watching him say that they're not able to implement it at the time. And this is a plaque that was voted on by Congress in a bipartisan fashion and put into law to hang up that plaque. And he's saying that they are not able to implement it. And Trump is the executive branch. The executive branch executes whatever the laws are. That's their job. That's their only job. And I'm really upset that he's kind of slow playing this. And again, I didn't realize, and we don't have time. And let me tell you something. These people, they posted on the White House website a completely different view, a completely different video of January 6th, making it look like it was okay and it was peaceful. And as you and I know, it was not peaceful.
Of course not.
As you and I know, we watched them beat police officers, spray them, try to take their guns, kick them while they were on the ground, broke out windows. They went into the offices and smoked marijuana.
Right.
They did drugs. They bragged about, let's steal the computers, let's steal the laptops, let's get everything. So does that sound like a peaceful protest to you?
No, of course it wasn't a peaceful protest, Leonard. And there are officers that have traumatic brain injury, and there are still January 6th deniers out there, the same people who are election deniers, and it sickens me that there are hundreds of those people, including Enrique Tarrio, that sick SOB, that are out there protesting.
That guy, how did he ever get, not to interrupt you, but how did he ever get to be anybody? Have you ever heard him speak?
Yeah, I mean,
have you ever heard him try to make a point?
He's an extremely dumb person. He's very stupid.
Is it just the glasses and the 5 o'clock shadow?
Listen, the guy,
the attitude. What is it? Because he doesn't speak well at all.
No, he's never had a real job in his life, he became his white supremacy fame. And Enrique Tarrio is not white. Who cares? You could still be a white supremacist. You don't have to be white. And that's exactly what the Proud Boys organization is. Leonard, I look forward to seeing you in studio tomorrow. We're going to have some fun, my man.
Chop it up tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely,
yes,
Leonard.
definitely.
I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you. I know the listeners are going to enjoy it as well. Thanks, Leonard.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Have a good day.
All right. So here's what we are going to do. We're going to take one more quick phone call because it has to be very quick. And then we're going to take a break, and I have some audio I want to play for you, but it wouldn't be a show without the MAGA well, no, it's not the MAGA Destroyer.
Not the MAGA Destroyer.
No, it's not. I thought it was Darlene, but no, it's Shelly that is calling in. Hey, Shelly.
Hey, Brian. Hey, I just have a point for people to think about.
Sure.
Oh, President Obama got Osama bin Laden without bombing Pakistan. They went in under the cover of darkness in secret.
That's true.
Did not bomb the country, though.
That is true.
Thank you.
Barack Obama used words instead of bombs. And by the way, I also add something else to that caveat, Shelley, and you're absolutely correct. Donald Trump has bombed 8 different countries in his first year as president, which is more than any president in this country would do probably in 4 years, let alone in 1 year, Shelley. So I think we all have
Brian, we're screwed, honey.
Well, we're in a lot of trouble the next 3 years,
Yep.
that's for sure. But it starts with the midterm, Shelley. It starts with the midterm. Shelley, I appreciate your call. I got to take a quick break, and I appreciate you. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, you're not going to believe what Machado said on Sean Hannity's show last night. We have that for you and more coddling from the MAGA right. We have the audio to prove it for you. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with that after this. Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch, full of
information machine. Click the link in the description or head over to unfuckamericatour.com to donate, because nobody else is coming to fix this mess.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a very busy news day on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate everyone for being here. Please check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. We just passed 50,000 subs on Facebook, and we literally just started posting regularly on there like maybe 6 or 7 weeks ago. 50,000 subs. So we want to get to 100,000 here in a few months, and I think we can do that, maybe even in a month. So we'll see if we can do that in the month of January. It's Pushing the Limits the Facebook fan page. YouTube, we're just short of 160,000 subs. That continues to grow by the day as well. And we put up extra content on all of those social media platforms. So you definitely want to continue to follow me on those, in those areas, as my headphones, this is like an everyday occurrence here, ladies and gentlemen. For whatever reason, I have to switch headphones in the middle of the show. But hey, these work fine. So there's a lot to get to, a lot more that I want to talk to you about. So it is clear to me that Machado wants to be the next president of Venezuela. As you know, Machado won the same award that Donald Trump has been wanting for a very long time, the Nobel Peace Prize. So Machado shows up on Sean Hannity's show yesterday, begging, pleading, in a way, without saying it directly, kissing Donald Trump's ass on Sean Hannity's show, and backing everything that Donald Trump does. Listen to what Machado had to say. Have a listen to this.
Did you at any point offer to give him the Nobel Peace Prize? Did that actually happen? I had read that somewhere. I wasn't sure if it was true.
Well, it hasn't happened yet, but I certainly would love to be able to personally tell him that we believe the Venezuelan people, because this is a prize of the Venezuelan people, certainly want to give it to him and share it with him. What he has done, as I said, is historic. It's a huge step towards a democratic transition.
Absolutely embarrassing and absolutely pathetic. Listen, Machado is pleading for Donald Trump to allow her to be the president. We know that. Go ahead and give him the Nobel Peace Prize. It's absolutely an embarrassment. But while this is going on, there are Democrats out there that are speaking aloud. And the fact of the matter is that the President of the United States and his comrades that are with him, they decided to brief the big oil companies before they said anything to Congress. And yes, there are Democrats on big platforms on national television that are calling this out. Have a listen to this.
Well, history doesn't repeat, to your point, but it certainly rhymes. The fact that the president last night on Air Force One admitted that oil executives were informed of this, I think, illegal action before the Congress of the United States that represents the people, not just that it's the Congress, we represent the people, especially in the House of Representatives, is incredibly dangerous. I mean, the fact that folks who clearly didn't have a clearance knew about this, and yet the representatives of the people weren't given a voice is outrageous.
It is outrageous, Representative. You're absolutely correct. You want to talk about outrageous. I've always called Laura Ingraham an evil, racist witch. Her own brother refuses to talk to her because she's such a despicable human being. Laura Ingraham is one of the worst people, in my opinion, on television today. But even by her standards, if she has any, which I don't think she does, this is absolutely absurd. She brings up the war of Iraq and Afghanistan and claims that the Venezuelan people would be totally fine with us taking all of their oil that belongs to them. This is insane. Listen to this.
Yeah, Americans have to be paid back, that's for sure. We've lost trillions in Iraq and Afghanistan. I know the Venezuelan people would be fine with that.
I'm the Scarecrow, Laura Ingraham. Americans have to be paid back. So let's just go to Venezuela, which, by the way, you people of Venezuela had nothing to do with the war in Iraq. You had nothing to do with Afghanistan. But let's punish you and let's ruin your economy and let's steal oil from you that doesn't belong to us because Americans have to be paid back. I'm sure all of you Venezuelans people would be totally fine with that, you scarecrow racist bimbo, you. No wonder why your brother doesn't want to talk to you, you imbecile. How could anybody take anything that Laura Ingraham says to heart? What a complete idiot. Idiot. Speaking of idiots, let's talk about 4-foot-tall Mark Wayne Mullen. Listen to his defense of kidnapping the president of Venezuela. Listen to this.
And so if the president wants to go after the drug cartels, not the government of Mexico, but the drug cartels that are killing our friends and family on our own streets, then we will go where we need to go to protect the interest and the sovereignty of the United States. And President Trump is the only president that we've had in our history with a backbone to be able to do so.
Wait, what? What? Come again? What did Mark Wayne Mullen just say? We will go where we need to go to protect the sovereignty of the United States. Can you please explain to me, were people in Venezuela threatening to bomb us? Were they invading our country? Now, if the argument is about drugs, which I would assume Mark Wayne Mullen would refer to, if he would refer to drugs, then I would imagine that the question would have to be asked, well, wait a second, what about the guy you guys pardoned last month who brought in 400 tons of cocaine? Oh, well, that's different. I don't know anything about that. I haven't looked into that. Yeah, okay, Mark Wayne. Holy smoke. I suggest Mark Wayne Mullen gets on his stilts, get back into the halls of Congress, and put on those Donald Trump knee pads, as you always do every day, Mark Wayne. You doofus, you imbecile. Speaking of imbeciles, I would like to talk to you a little bit about Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller did an interview with Jake Tapper yesterday, and it was off the rails and bat you-know-what crazy. I cannot believe anybody would allow Stephen Miller on the airwaves at all in any way, shape, or form. This is an unbelievable cut here that we're going to play for you where Stephen Miller continues to yell at Jake Tapper when he refuses to answer a very, very basic question. Listen to this.
The president was very quick to say that the recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, opposition leader Machado in Venezuela, doesn't have the support in Venezuela to become the next president or the interim leader. And I wonder where he got that from, given that basically her cutout, Gonzalez, won the election last year, 2 years ago, overwhelmingly, 70% of the vote or something like that. Why does the president think that Machado should not be the next leader? Why does he think she's weak?
First of all Venezuela experts agree, that it would be absurd and preposterous for us to suddenly fly her into the country and to put her in charge. And the military would follow her, and the security forces would follow her. This is not a serious. It's not even a serious question.
So should there be an election?
Let me. If you give me the floor for 30 seconds, let me tell you what we are doing here, Jake. The United States, this is sort of foundational. The United States is using its military to secure our interests unapologetically in our hemisphere. We're a superpower, and under President Trump, we are going to conduct ourselves as a superpower. It is absurd that we would allow a nation in our own backyard to become the supplier of resources to our adversaries, but not to us, to hoard weapons from our adversaries, to be able to be positioned as an asset against the United States rather than on behalf of the United States.
Sovereign countries shouldn't be able to do what they want to do.
The Monroe Doctrine and the Trump Doctrine is all about securing the national interests of America. For years, we sent our soldiers to die in deserts in the Middle East to try to build them parliaments, to try to build them democracies, to try to give them more oil, to try to give them more resources. The future of the free world, Jake, depends on America being able to assert ourselves and our interests without apology. This whole period that happened after World War II, where the West began apologizing and groveling and begging
I don't even
and
know,
engaging these
honestly,
vast
what you're talking
reparation
about right
schemes.
now.
What I'm talking about, Jake, is the idea, and by the way, you do, I know you love doing that smarmy thing, Jake, and I was hoping to be better than that this time.
I asked you about if there should be an election. I asked you if there would be an election in Venezuela. That's what I asked. I said, why was the president so quick to dismiss Machado? You answered that question. And then I said,
the objective, Jake, is security and stability for the people of Venezuela. With our help and leadership, that country will become more prosperous than it has ever been in its whole history. Venezuelans
but the woman
will be richer
running Venezuela
and
right now
safer
is
and
part
more
of the Maduro
secure and
regime.
better off. There will be conversations, Jake, about all of these guideposts along the way. The reason why I was giving you that speech, which I know you didn't want to hear, is because you're approaching this from the wrong frame. This neoliberal frame that the United States' job is to go around the world and demanding immediate elections to be held everywhere, immediately, all the time, right away, to create these vacuums.
That's not what I think, but you invaded the country. We went into the country and we seized the leader of Venezuela.
Damn straight we did.
And I'm
because
saying,
we're not going to let.
so is the U.S. going to have new elections?
Jake, is that we're not going to let Tin Pot communist dictators send rapists into our country, send drugs into our country, send weapons into our country.
Okay.
And we're not going to let a country fall into the hands of our adversaries. The future of Venezuela, working with America, is going to be so bright and so incredible and so positive, and we'll have a conversation about everything that you raised. But the priority right now, as the president has been made clear, is a judicious, thoughtful, careful transition process to secure a great future for Venezuela and to secure a great future for America.
All right.
Let's just take a moment and just acknowledge, Jake, that what we've witnessed under President Trump's leadership this last week is one of the greatest foreign policy and military victories this country has ever had.
Stephen Miller, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen Miller. That is a disturbing window of what you just listened to into how this administration thinks about the world. Stephen Miller yelling at Jake Tapper about how sovereign countries don't get sovereignty if the U.S. wants their resources. That is unhinged, ladies and gentlemen. And that is exactly what Stephen Miller said. And Jake Tapper asked him in this interview if the U.S. is going to take Greenland by force. And Stephen Miller, in this cut, does not answer the question directly.
Important topic. The premier of Greenland and the premier of Denmark and other Danish officials are responding to a Twitter post from your wife, Katie Miller, herself a former Trump White House official, showing Greenland covered with an American flag, saying soon. After that was posted, President Trump repeated the claim that the U.S. needs Greenland for national security reasons. The Danish prime minister responded to this in an interview earlier today, as reported by Bloomberg, quote, "I believe one should take the American president seriously when he says it wants Greenland, but I will also make it clear that if the U.S. chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops, including NATO, and thus the security that has been established since the end of the Second World War." Can you rule out that the U.S. is ever going to try to take Greenland by force?
Well, let me go back a step. The president has been clear for months now, so I know you're treating this as breaking news. The president has been clear for months now that the United States should be the nation that has Greenland as part of our overall security apparatus. The United
Right, but
States,
your wife posted that like hours after the Venezuela operation. That's why it's newly relevant.
No, I'll talk with you about it for an hour. I think it's a really important conversation. I just wanted to reset, Jake, by making clear that it has been the formal position of the U.S. government since the beginning of this administration, frankly, going back into the previous Trump administration, that Greenland should be part of the United States. The president has been very clear about that. That is the formal position of the U.S. government.
Right, but can you say that military action against Greenland is off the table?
It wouldn't be military action against Greenland. The Greenland has a population of 30,000 people, Jake. The real question is, by what right does Denmark assert control over Greenland? What is the basis of their territorial claim? What is their basis of having Greenland as a colony of Denmark? The United States is the power of NATO. For the United States to secure the Arctic region, to protect and defend NATO and NATO interests, obviously Greenland should be part of the United States. And so that's a conversation that we're going to have as a country. That's a process we're going to have as a community of nations.
So you can't take it off the table that the U.S. would use military force to seize Greenland. You can't take it off the table.
Jake, I understand you're trying very hard to, which again, is your job. I respect it. It's great to get exactly the headline, right? That catchy headline.
I'm trying to get an answer to the question.
That says Miller refuses to rule out. The United States should have Greenland as part of the United States. There's no need to even think or talk about this in the context that you're asking of a military operation. Nobody's going to fight the United States militarily over the future of Greenland. So
One last question,
Stephen. Doesn't
Stephen.
make any sense.
One last question.
Well, there is where Stephen Miller is not willing to take U.S. military force of taking over Greenland off the table. The only thing that he said was, well, nobody's going to, there's nobody that's going to fight us. That's his response. That answer is yes. They are willing to use force to take over Greenland. And by the way, this was established early in the 1800s when it comes to Denmark and Greenland. This was established over 200 years ago. So, I'm sorry, over 2,000 years ago. No, 200. My math is a little bit off, ladies and gentlemen, today. But no, this was established in the 1800s. And the fact of the matter is that we're talking about something that has occurred over 200 years ago, and yet Stephen Miller, to him and the Trump administration, it doesn't matter. We're going to use our own forces to go in there and get what we want, in this case, Greenland. They did the same thing when it comes to Venezuela. Let's just go right in there. Let's just march in there. Let's kidnap the president. We've got the indictments down because we want what they have, which is oil. How could anybody be okay with this? Anybody. This president does not respect rule of law. He doesn't respect what is in our Constitution. And this is going to continue. If you think this is it, who's next? What nation is next? Which president is next? It's not going to be Vladimir Putin. It's not going to be Kim Jong-un. Those two people, I think, are the biggest risks to the United States and people around the world. But he's not going to be going after those people. It's certainly not going to be Benjamin Netanyahu. So who is it going to be? Who is it going to be? I do want to go to the YouTube Super Chat, if I may. And thank Sean for your contribution. Sean says, as fourth in the line of the military men in my family, January 6th was a kick in the teeth. I'll never, ever understand why it was a kick in the teeth to all. Why it was a kick in the teeth to all. Well, Sean, I first of all, I appreciate your service, and I'm with you. I think it wasn't a kick in the teeth at all because a lot of those people were willing to rip up every part of our Constitution and rip up every single thing that this country stands for because they didn't like the outcome of a free and fair election. That's what I can tell you, my friend. Hey, listen, everybody. We're going to be back at it tomorrow. Leonard Cardinale is going to be my co-host in studio. We'll have some other special guests. I really want to thank my guests today. They were just so great. I love Joe Walsh. I think he's phenomenal. Joe Walsh is always one of my favorite guests, the former presidential candidate. He joined us in hour number one. Always a treat to have Wajahat Ali joining us from the Left Hook Substack. Wajahat is phenomenal. He's also one of my favorite guests. And it was nice to finally have my friend Kyla Turner join us on the show, liberal influencer and part of the UNF America tour. Great having her on as well. Some great guests today. We always try to do our best to line them up for you, and very grateful. Again, if you want to do your part, if you really enjoy this program, and I would imagine some of you do, and we appreciate your support, check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that's pushingthelimits.live, where you can make contributions monthly, a one-time contribution, whatever it is, $5, $10, $20 a month. We so appreciate you in advance. Thank you so much for everyone that continues to support this show, that is continuing to grow. We are going to have some very, very big announcements when this show is concerned by the end of the month. We're working on some details. I can't really talk about it right now, but some more big news with this show in the future. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry